Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Maxwell Ivey, also known around the world as the Blind Blogger, and I want to welcome you to another episode of What's Your Excuse, a show where we get into the way people become that person they end up being. And hopefully by the end of the show, you will be asking yourself, if he or she can do it, then what is my excuse? And you can find me on the Creative Magic Network over at frederickby.com, or you can visit me directly at theblindblogger.net. And today I have another friend of mine along today, and I want to thank her not only for being on the show, but also for being willing to be the first person that I interview on video, on Zoom, and I'm sure there are a couple other firsts in there I'm not counting, but I really want to thank my friend Amy Starr Allen. And I've been on her podcast and had a great time talking with her. I consider her a friend, and this is another time when I'm being kind of selfish and interviewing people I like to talk to, and I hope you will too. Amy is a single mother who a few short years ago was unable to or having difficulty even buying new clothes for her kids. Since then, she has become a six-figure earner in this industry. She has been on stage with some of the greats, including Neil Patel, and she's helped hundreds, if not thousands of people tap into their story, their passion, and turn it into an income where they can support themselves and their families. I love her tagline, or at least I think it should be if it isn't. She teaches people how to cash in on their passion. So hi, Amy. Welcome to What's Your Excuse? How are you doing today?
Hi, Max. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Well, again, thank you for coming on the show. I feel like one of the best things I get to do is interviews, whether I'm the host or the guest or part of a panel, because there's just a certain energy that comes from talking to people one-to-one as opposed to internet and text and all that other good stuff that's out there.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I love talking to people online, and I love all the amazing people that I've gotten to meet online, and it's always fun when we get to come together and have a conversation.
Right. And that's one of the things people don't realize is that you can create these awesome relationships with incredible people through the internet. I think I've met more great people online than I've met in person over the last few years. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is something I wish more people would tap into, especially those people who are starting a business and are struggling, and they need somebody to encourage them or be their mentor or just find good information on how they can get to that next step. And that's one of the reasons why I'm glad to have you on here, because you've been there and you've done it, and now you're on the other side. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your story and mention your website and your books and your courses and all that good stuff, because I stink at introductions.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Amy Starr Allen. I'm a single mother of two. I have two girls who are now, one just turned 9 and one's about to turn 12. So I'm still getting used to saying 12 and 9 instead of 11 and 8. It goes so fast. I've been a single mother since my younger one, since 4 weeks after my younger one was born. So went through an abrupt divorce when my kids were 4 weeks old and 3 years old. And at that time, my husband was, when I was married, my husband was the breadwinner in our family. And I had just started, building a little bit of a side income in the network marketing industry. When we split up, that income was not enough to support my family, but I knew at that moment that, it was an abrupt split. I was not prepared for it financially. And I was not willing to leave my kids to go get a job. So it was then that I decided that I was going to do everything that I could do, everything that it takes to learn how to market on the internet. Even the network marketing business that I was doing up until then required me to be out of the house, meeting with people in person and sharing my opportunity with them, but with two small kids in tow, one of them nursing and, being an infant. That just wasn't an option anymore. So that's when I just really put my head down and decided that I was going to learn how to become an online marketer. And so I just started taking courses and going to events and doing everything that I could to learn the skill sets that would help me to be able to leverage my time as a single mother by creating videos and being able to do the work once and have it seen by multiple people, hundreds or thousands of people around the world, rather than having to meet with people one-on-one in a coffee shop over and over and repeat myself over and over. And as I started to learn this, it was just awesome because, again, I was able to leverage my time. I learned attraction marketing, which is, how to become the hunted instead of the hunter. So instead of me like calling phone numbers off the sides of landscaping trucks, asking them to move them in a coffee shop. I mean, I did anything I could do to, I was prospecting people for my network marketing company. But when I learned how to market on the internet and how to have people find me and come to me and start like opting into my pages so that I could actually contact the people who wanted to be contacted, and creating an income that way, it changed everything for me. And so although my friends and family thought I was crazy because I had 2 little kids and I would not go get a job, they kept telling me, you need to go get a job. You need to support your family. And, things were tough financially for us for quite a while, but I stuck to my guns. It was not an overnight success, but I learned what I needed to learn. I used the skill sets that I acquired along the way to generate a little bit of extra income on the side by putting ads on Craigslist, saying like, do you need help building a website? Do you need help? As I was learning stuff, I would put myself out on Craigslist, just as a freelancer to generate some income so that I wouldn't have to go get a job. I just did whatever it took. And now, like I said, my kids are about to turn 12 and the other one's 9. And I still have been working from home this whole time. Teaching people how to use a blog to, as Max said, cash in on your passion, how you can literally blog about anything that you want, anything, in any niche, and monetize that blog and create an income doing that. I love helping people with video marketing. I feel like video is a really good way to connect with people in the noisy space that is now the internet, where there's so many people trying to get, in front of us on a daily basis. Being authentic and being yourself and being transparent and just getting, putting yourself out there on video is a really great way to connect with people on a deeper level. So I love helping people with that as well. As Max said, I have several courses. I have one published book so far, and I'm just really passionate about, like I said, about helping other people, helping other mothers and parents and people in general to be able to own their lives. For me, I never miss a beat in my kids' lives because I have a flexible schedule. I can show up and have lunch in the cafeteria with my kids when I want, and I get to, chaperone field trips. And that has always been a driving force for me. And
Right.
I'm really passionate about helping other people have that kind of freedom in their lives.
Right. When you were talking about driving around taking numbers off of landscaping trucks, the reason I was laughing about that is I can remember back when my dad was alive and we were still booking for our small carnival, we would drive around the city of Houston looking for shopping centers and malls that didn't appear that they would cost a lot of money to rent or that might be open to working on a percentage basis. And then we'd go home and I would call number after number after number,
Mm-hmm.
and do the old telephone roulette where you get passed around from one person to the next until you find the person who can actually tell you yes, but they usually told me no. So it's a good memory. Thanks for bringing that up. Now, so many things you talked about in there. You did talk about video, and I am a firm believer in video and audio and doing interviews because as a blind person living in a suburb of Houston, transportation is not all that accessible to me. So I took the similar approach in that wanting to do pretty much anything online because it was preferable to going out and doing stuff in person. So can you mention some of the ways people can not only get themselves out there online, but can generate income from being online? What are some of your favorite ways to monetize what you're doing?
Well, there's so many ways, and it just really depends what niche somebody is in and what type of business model that they want to have. So for example, some people are in a network marketing company. So they're marketing products for somebody else's company, basically. And, I never recommend like branding a company. I always, no matter what you're doing, I recommend, branding yourself. So having a blog with your name on it. And so let's say you're in a network marketing industry that's in the health and wellness industry. You don't want to market that company and you don't want to talk about their products specifically all over your blog, but you could have a blog where you write articles about health and wellness specific topics. And within those articles, you can recommend the products that your company has or whatever. So that's one way. Another way is, for people that aren't in a network marketing company, if you have something that you're passionate about, let's say you're passionate about photography and you're really good at photography and it's just, something that you love. Maybe it's just a side thing that you do. Like, let's say you're a landscaper by day, but you're really passionate about photography and it's something that you know a lot about. Well, you can very easily create an online course that teaches people some of your photography techniques. And it's really easy, by creating really valuable content on your blog on a regular basis. Like, let's say you write an article about one of your specific photography techniques. You write a blog post about it. When somebody gets to the bottom of that blog post, you can say, well, if you love this technique, get access to my full photography course here. And you can have a link there where people can purchase your course, or maybe you've published a book. You can have a link at the end of your blog post where people can go buy your book on Amazon. And what I always like to say about this, because sometimes people have a hard time promoting themselves like that, is that you're actually doing people a disservice if you don't. Because what happens is if someone comes to your blog and they're inspired by what they just read, an article that you just wrote, giving them a piece of the pie, a lot of times what will happen is somebody will get really inspired, like, wow, this was really cool. Now I want to learn more. If you don't offer them something, you're leaving them hanging, for one. And number two, if you don't offer them something, they're going to go to Amazon anyway and buy somebody else's book, or they're going to go buy somebody else's photography course because now they're inspired and they want to learn more. So you might as well have something that you can offer them. I won't go into all the details about how to create an online course, but in this day and age, it's actually really, really easy to do. There's all kinds of platforms available that you can get on, starting for free, where you can upload your videos and charge whatever you want, and people just, pay and get access to your stuff. And so that's another way that you can monetize your passions. And, you can sell affiliate products. So there's websites like ClickBank where, you can go and, let's use photography as an example. Again, if you go to ClickBank and put in photography as a keyword, you can find courses and books and things that other people have created. And you can, offer those on your website as well, even like a banner in the sidebar or whatever. So if somebody is coming to your blog to read about photography, you have some other things available for purchase that you make a commission on without having to create anything yourself. So, these are just a couple of examples. There are countless ways that you can generate an income from a blog. And, I've had so many people ask me about this.
Well, I'm sorry, it is a complex question. There are lots. I've seen posts online about monetizing blogs that I thought could have been books because there was literally that many categories of options. And really, it just comes down to finding your niche and posting consistent content, and then leveraging that consistent content with some sort of monetization, whether it be affiliate or MLM, or selling your own products. And what you said about creating a course, it is very easy. I've done it. And as a lot of people say, if Max can do it, then what is my excuse? So if you've been thinking about creating a course, she is right. It is very easy, lots of platforms. And in most cases, you can do it on muscle as opposed to cash, which is something that's great when you're first starting out. Later on, you may want to hire somebody to help you make the course prettier and make the way they get to the course easier and things like that. But it's never a reason not to do it because there are so many options out there. Now, you mentioned that there is pretty much any niche you can go into and make a living with your blog or create a market with your blog. The one question I run into a lot is, Max, there are so many bloggers and podcasters out there nowadays. Why should I even do it anymore? Because there's so many voices. How am I going to stand out? How are people even going to find me? And even worse, people are like, nobody will want to hear what I have to say. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, the reason that there's so many, in any particular niche, if you find that there's a lot of people already having a blog or a podcast about a particular topic or a particular niche, it's because there's an audience for it. And, a lot of times people think, well, why would somebody listen to me if they could listen to somebody that's making 7 or 8 figures in my niche? And the reason that they will is because, first of all, there's only one you. So even though there's other people doing the same thing that you're doing, none of them are you. And some people are going to resonate with you more than they're going to resonate with somebody else. So for example, when I first got online and started making videos, I was really scared. I was like a deer in the headlights on the videos. And I also thought that people were going to be like turned off by me because I'm a fast talking girl from New Jersey. And I was just self-conscious about, are people going to like me? Would I be better off not getting on camera, whatever. And what happens is some people will resonate. They feel a connection to you on a deeper level than with somebody else, specifically because you have some type of background of relatedness. So for example, I'm a single mom. Single moms connect with me on that level. I've made some videos playing the guitar. So people see that. And I've had some people who just connect with me because, wow, I play the guitar. She plays the guitar. We have that in common. So although I'm a marketer and my videos aren't about playing the guitar, because I share myself, my personal side of myself, I'm not just out there like talking about marketing or talking about business all the time. I share personal stuff about my kids and my music and that kind of stuff. And I let people see the whole picture. And what happens is that allows us to create relationships with people. Again, the internet is really loud and there's plenty of people that people can follow. But, if somebody's, a 7 or 8 figure earner and they're in a suit and tie and all they talk about is business, it's going to be, certain people are not going to connect with that. They would rather connect with somebody who's not as far down the path as that person. The other thing that works really well that I've done personally is, and I always recommend that people do this, is, so when I first got online, I was learning how to market on the internet. Like I said, what I did is I documented my journey. Every step of the way, I would share with people what I learned and a result that I got. So sometimes, again, like there were people making millions of dollars that were way further ahead than me in the internet marketing journey. But certain people, a lot of people felt more connected, like they would rather follow me because what I would do is like, wow, I just got my first lead on the internet. I was so excited.
Yeah.
So I made a video and I said, I just got my first lead and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. And then I would just show them how I did it. And then like a few days later, I got 5 leads in one day. So I made another video and I showed how I did that. And what happens is people really resonate with, what's the word I'm looking for? Practicality. Like a lot of times people will want to follow on the coattails of somebody that's just a step ahead of them rather than somebody that's like millions of dollars ahead of them. Not to mention the people that are already making millions of dollars or 7 or 6 figure, whatever. They don't remember what it's like to be back at the beginning. So whatever niche you're in, you can do this with, where, you learn something. It's the learn, do, teach thing. You learn something, you apply it, and then you teach others how to do it. And people love that because they're kind of learning right along with you. You don't act like you're, more of an expert than you are or anything. You just let people know, like, I just learned this today and I want to share it with you. People love that. And so, again, the thing is you're a unique person. And to go back to your original question, people will connect with you because you're you. It doesn't matter how many other people are having the same conversation. Nobody's going to have it the same exact way that you are. And that being said, my theory is correct, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how many people were turned off by me when I got on camera, but I'm sure some people don't resonate with me. And that's totally fine. They resonate more with somebody else. And that's totally fine. But the people that do, when you put yourself out there and you let people see you. I mean, this is why I'm here, Max. I heard you on a podcast and I fell in love with you. Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I remember that.
yeah.
You were one of the few people that I didn't have to pitch to get on their show, because you heard me on somebody else's podcast and you introduced yourself, and it went from there. And we've exchanged emails, and we still haven't made that date to record us singing together, but that's going to happen someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I recently appeared in the talent contest and or show, because there wasn't any prize, but in rehearsing for that, I thought, I've been wanting to do something with Amy, and it's just never worked out. But, there's always someday down the road. I'm talking with Amy Starr Allen, and she basically teaches people how to turn their passion into their profession, how to make a living from the thing that makes you get up in the morning every day. She's gone from being a single mother who had trouble putting clothes on her two daughters to somebody who has helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people to do what she and I are doing, and that is to take what you do, what you love, and turn it into an income, a way of supporting your family, enjoying your life, and to live a more flexible life. I like to tell people all the time, if I had to relocate, it would be easy, because I can work anywhere they have the internet. So, and back to what you were talking about with the videos and with people connecting because it's you. I find that some of my most watched videos are the ones where I messed up, where I was willing to share those mistakes with people. My favorite one is one that I recorded in the dark, because I have such little vision. If I don't look directly at the light, I don't know if it's on or off. And I recorded one completely in the dark, and that got a lot of comments because people thought I was making a statement with it. They thought, well, Max's book is leading people out of the darkness into the light. He was making a statement. No, I was making a mistake. And and I think that too many people hide their mistakes, especially online. I recently heard somebody say, it's like the old days when you bought records for a phonograph. The B-side was always junk. Nobody ever wanted to listen to the B-side of a record. It's like nobody shares the B-sides of their lives or the B-sides of their business. And those are often the things that will make people connect with you even more. What is your opinion on that?
I totally agree with that. The other piece of it is that a lot of times the stuff that we think, like we'll write a blog post and think this is going to win a Nobel Prize. Like this is the best blog post ever. Or edit a video for like hours to make it like so clean and professional. And, do our makeup and our hair and wear something nice and make this cool video. And the fact of the matter is we don't know what people are going to connect with until we put it out there. And unfortunately, a lot of stuff doesn't get put out there because people are too much of a perfectionist to put something out there without editing it, or, to write something just right from their heart that, maybe they feel like it's not a Nobel Prize, so they never hit the publish button. And what happens is, just like you were saying, my experience has been sometimes the thing that I think just flat out sucks, when I do hit the publish button, whether it's a video or blog post or whatever, a lot of times that's the thing that people engage with more than any of the stuff that I spend a lot of time on, or something that I think is way better. So the marketplace is the only judge of what works and what doesn't work. We can't, in our minds, we think we know, but we don't. We don't know exactly what people are going to resonate with. And had you known that you shot a video in the dark, you probably wouldn't have published it, but you published it. That's like a benefit that you have, right? You didn't even realize you made a mistake. Somebody else would have done that and they never would have published the video, and they wouldn't have impacted people the way that you did with that video.
Yeah, but the other thing about it is when I realized it was a mistake, I didn't try to take the mistake down or hide it or remove the video. I owned my mistake, and that was what really made it an even better piece of content for me. But people resonated with it even more after I let them know that this was not something I did on purpose. This was just something that happened, and that I believe that the learning experience of how we get from here to there is as important, if not more so, than the result we get. And I didn't want people to think I was telling them one thing and doing another. So even after I found out, I still That's the first video on the blindblogger.net website under No Excuses or Leading You Out of the Dark, whatever I titled that one. But that's the first video, and it's still there. And I love what you said about perfectionism, because perfectionism kills more dreams than anything else I can think of. And that's why when I came up with my online course to show people how to get booked on podcasts and radio shows, I call it Just Press Send. When I give talks, that's what I say, just press send, or I call it just press publish, because you're right. We don't know what's going to make an impact until we put it out there and see people's reactions to it. And then, of course, if we get a really positive, strong reaction, we know that, hey, this is what they want. We need to do more of that if we can.
Yeah, well, and people like to know, that you're human. If everything is always so edited, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's plenty of people who are, making millions of dollars or whatever, and they would never sit at their kitchen table with their hair in a ponytail and no makeup on and like make a video and put it out there. Like for me, I like to call, the way that I create content is what I refer to as being on mission. And it's like when I'm inspired and I feel like I have something that might make a difference for somebody, I turn on the camera and I say what's on my heart. Now, sometimes I'm walking down the street and there's people around and people are going to look at me funny because I'm walking down the street shooting a video. But the thing is, I don't care, because I have a message that's important for me to get out to the world. And it doesn't matter what I'm wearing, and it doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter who's watching me shoot my video, and it doesn't matter what I look like. None of that matters. What matters is I have something that I'm inspired about right now. And I need to just like click record and get that out there, or write a blog post and get it out there. And that's, I call that being on mission. I might have shared this with you before, Max, I'm not sure, but like, I love this term because, and it kind of goes back to the perfectionism thing. The first time I've heard this term was one of my spiritual mentors interviewed a couple of opera singers, and he asked them, how is it that you are able to move people to tears with your music when you're singing in a language that they don't understand? And they said, like they're singing in Italian and their audience speaks English, but yet people have tears streaming down their face when they're listening to them sing. He's like, how is that possible? He said, because we're connecting at a heart level. The mind is completely removed from the equation, and we're there to just give something from the heart, and people feel that. When they can't understand the language, it's all heart. And then he asked them, well, what about stage fright? How do you walk out onto a stage in front of thousands of people and sing and not, freeze up and get scared? And they said, when you're on mission, there is no such thing as stage fright. Basically, you're there to deliver something to the audience, and it doesn't matter if you mess up. It doesn't matter if they clap for you. None of that, it doesn't matter if your voice cracks. None of that matters. What matters is you're there to provide something for them. And as long as you do that, there is no stage fright, because you're there to provide something. And I like to look at the way that I share content just like that, like being on mission. If I'm walking down the street and I'm inspired and I feel like what I'm thinking right now might make a difference for somebody, it doesn't matter if people are laughing at me because I'm shooting a video while I'm walking down the street, because it's more important to me that I just get the message out there. It doesn't matter to me if I look like shit. It doesn't matter if it's windy and my hair is like going all, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I recently went to New York City by myself, and a lot of people were scared for me, but when I left, and they were scared until I got back. And when I got back, people have asked me, Max, how come you weren't afraid? And I've been doing some real thinking on that subject, and I've had some great conversations with some spiritual people in my life, and we come down to one thing. The reason I was never really scared in New York or about the whole idea is because I was so focused on doing this thing, on going there, on enjoying every aspect of it, that there wasn't enough room in my brain to be scared. And I like to tell people I'm not smart enough to be scared, or not sensible enough. And a friend of mine said, Max, that's not a positive way to put that. You need to tell people you have a fearless soul. But it all comes back to me, to mindfulness and to being in the present. And like you say, being on motion, on mission, or being in that moment, being so focused on what you're doing that you're not worried about tomorrow or yesterday, or even whether or not you're going to have dinner later. You're just focused on this thing. And if you're really in the moment, if you're really mindful, as they talk about nowadays, the fear really doesn't come into play, does it?
No, it doesn't come into play, because just like you said, when you know what your purpose is, what you're here to do and what you're here to provide for people, then you just do it, and there is no fear. And that's the beauty of it. And unfortunately, like we said before, perfectionism gets in the way of that for a lot of people. They're more concerned with how they're going to look during the process, or if they're doing it right, than what they're actually doing. And that's all fear-based. But if you're coming from your heart,
yeah,
you know, the fear is removed from the equation, because you know that you're just doing what you're here to do.
Yeah, I've got a new saying for that. I'm trying to find somebody to do some images for me. I got a new saying. I tell people now, the life isn't the Olympics. They don't award style points, so stop worrying about what you look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like, you know, being a people pleaser, or, you know, so many people. I've had students tell me that they posted something on Facebook and it didn't get a lot of engagement, so they took it down. And that breaks my heart, because it's like, I don't care if it gets a lot of engagement. Like, if you have something to say, say it. It doesn't matter. You know, first of all, just because it's not getting a lot of likes doesn't mean it's not being seen, you know, or whatever.
Well, on Facebook, it might not be being seen is the problem there.
Yeah, and there's that.
Where they're sharing their content to start with. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. But then even like the comments, like if it gets a negative comment, I delete the whole post. It's like, no, you know, like somebody's comment, that's their stuff. It has nothing to do with you, who you are, what you have to say. Like, I think it's important to just, you know, life is too short to not be you 100%. And if you want to put something out there from your heart, that's, you know, the way that you feel, the way that you think, put it out there. And it doesn't matter how anybody else feels about it. That's their business. That's their stuff. Has nothing to do with you or what you're saying. So I totally agree with what you just said about not caring about what other people think, because, you know, the more we do that, the less, the more we hold back, and the less we are truly authentic, and the less impact that we can have being who we really are here to be.
Well, that plus you're letting somebody steal your joy. You're giving away something that should be yours. I like to tell people about how I used to love to sing until I was in junior high school, and people told me that I couldn't sing, and didn't do it for years until I needed some audio for a podcast, and thought, well, I'll sing. And people told me, you know, Max, you have a good voice and you sound good. So now I sing more. And that's the thing. You let this one or two comments just talk you out of sharing your true message. You are basically giving away your joy. You're letting them steal your passion. And if it's not a just totally mean comment for meanness sake, I like to reply to those comments and see if I can't learn something from them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, and the other piece of it is people compare themselves to other people. So going back to your music example, you know, I play the guitar and sing, and when I get really like inspired by a song, I'll learn it. A lot of times I'll make a video of it, like right after I learn it, and I'm like reading the words off of a piece of paper because I just learned the song, and I'll put it up on my YouTube channel. Now, if I was going to be like worried about how it looks, first of all, you know, for the same song, you can go and look on YouTube, and there'll be like 100 covers of people that are like professional singers doing a way better job than I did. So what business do I have putting a video up of it, right?
Yeah.
But the reason I put it up there is because it's an expression of myself. It's like, I love this song, and it means something to me, and I'm going to sing it to you because I love you, period. And it doesn't matter if it completely sucks compared to these people that are like trained, you know, beautiful vocalists, whatever, or way better guitar player than me or whatever, right? It's just, if I was to compare myself to them or go do a search first at what else is out there before I record my video, I probably wouldn't even do it. But I don't do that. I just record it and I put it out there, and that's it, you know. And
I love what you just said about you don't even look at what other people have done on that same topic. And I think that that's something a lot more people need to do. I mean, you know, don't look at people you think are your competitors or people you think you're trying to chase down, because if you do, it'll scare you.
Yeah, I mean, what do they call it? comparisonitis or something like that. It's like one of the biggest dream killers there is, because again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning, people think, well, what business do I have speaking about something in this niche, or teaching in this niche, or blogging about this niche, when there's all these other people that are more successful than me doing it, or they know more than I do, or they're a better writer than I am, or they make better videos than me, or they have a prettier website than me. Whatever it is, like, people are constantly, they go out there and they look at what else is there, and it stops them dead in their tracks because they're comparing themselves to other people. And it's a big dream stealer.
Yeah, I want to share one that actually happened to me last year. Was when I applied for the thing to go to New York, I started reading the bios of previous winners, and I read 4 or 5 of them, and I'm like, Max, you probably don't belong in this neighborhood. I was actually hearing the song from Sesame Street, which one of these is not like the other? Mm-hmm. And then I read a comment from a woman who said, I wish that y'all didn't just take people who are already successful, because if you did take people who are on their, who are, you know, still working at it, I would apply for this. And I thought, that is so sad. And I've actually tried to go find that blog comment, because that woman, by not deciding to apply for it and by saying it that way, just triggered something in my mind. I'm like, I don't care if I'm not qualified or not, or you know, I don't care if I don't belong here. I'm going to go ahead and press publish, or press submit in that case. So and I think it's important for people like you and me to let people know that no matter how successful you get or appear to get, you still get scared when it comes time to press that button.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like the most vulnerable place that you can be, when you're putting yourself and your heart out into the world. I mean, that's what you do when you know, it's like owning a piece of real estate online. Every time you publish a piece of content, and it's there forever unless you take it down at some point. I have videos and blog posts that are still getting traffic that I published years ago. And those are some of my, you know, when I look back at those videos, I'm like embarrassed, you know, because, you know what I mean? Like, I was such a novice, but I leave them out there because people still like to watch them, and they still make a difference for people. Not to mention, it's inspiring for myself and for others to see kind of the progression of things. But it is a very vulnerable thing, place to be, when you hit that publish button, knowing that you're letting other people into your heart and into your life. And, you know, I mean, I don't think I ever hit it without having, you know, like a little bit of hesitation, or like, you know, a little bit of concern about if it'll be well received. But again, being on mission, like, it comes up and then I just say, thanks for sharing. And I just hit it anyway, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if nobody even reads it. It's like, I'm putting it out there.
Does it get harder as your audience grows? That's something I'm thinking of. Some people who are just starting are wondering, does it get harder or easier when your audience starts to become hundreds or thousands of people who are reading your content?
Yeah, I guess yes and no, because, you know, as you have a bigger audience and people have followed you for a specific reason, then it kind of sets you up to feel like, well, I need to be who they expect me to be, based on who I've been in the past, and why they've actually opted in to be on my list or whatever. The difficulty that I find is I am always evolving as a person. I'm heavily into spiritual development, personal development, and I just change. I grow and change every day. That's my goal in life, right? And so sometimes I feel like, you know, my brand is changing, who I am is changing, my content is changing, and is that going to be okay for my audience when they're here because of who I was before? Right? Or, you know, they opted into my list a long time ago when I was all about this, you know, I was this, and now I've become this way. And what I always have to remind myself is none of that matters, because they can always unsubscribe. They can always stop listening if they want to. I think the majority of them won't, though, because they like to see somebody evolve. We all want to do that, right? So if you're, you know, if you're growing and changing and your content isn't consistent over the years, or you completely change your niche, or you completely change your brand, it inspires people. So even if, they followed you for a specific reason and now, you're talking about something else, it's still inspiring for people to see somebody just be themselves regardless of, I'm not here to please everybody else on the planet. I'm here to just be me and inspire the people that are inspired. So yes and no. I mean, there's, those thoughts go through my head, but at the same time, I know that being authentic is the most important thing that anybody can be, no matter how big your audience is.
Yes, people. These are the kind of thoughts that go through the heads of people who make their livings online and in creative ways. We have these conversations with ourselves, and if we're lucky, we come out on the side of, yeah, it's good. I'm a different person than I was, and people will like me because of it. I know that I did lose some friends when I started blogging more about being a blind entrepreneur, but that was because they thought I was taking the cheap way out by emphasizing the fact that I'm blind. And thankfully it wasn't a lot of people, but that does happen as you grow. One of my favorite words is kaizen, which is a Japanese word for continual daily growth and improvement. And again, people, I'm here with Amy Starr Allen, and she is she's a teacher, an author, and somebody who helps other people turn their passions into a profession in a way they can make a living off of what inspires and motivates and is in the center of their heart. And before I forget to ask you, where can they find you, Amy? What's the website and a couple social media links for people?
Yeah. The best place to find me is at my website, which is just my name, Amy Starr with 2 R's, Allen, ALLEN.com, amystarrallen.com. And you can find, on my website, you can find links to my podcast and all my social media sites. But you can find me on pretty much, the big social media platforms. Facebook is my main platform. And I'm just Amy Starr Allen, facebook.com/Amy Starr Allen, my name. And from there, you can click through to my different business pages and stuff like that. But all of that is on my website, including I have a Facebook group for bloggers, and all of that is available. Just go to amystarrallen.com, keep it simple, and you can find out everything.
Yeah, I love the Rock Your Blog community, and it's one of the few groups on Facebook that I'm still subscribed to get updates when people post over there, because Facebook and groups and all that social media stuff seems to grow like weeds in a yard that doesn't have a caretaker. So, and I get I try to stay off of Facebook and other social media sites if I can. And so I do a lot of stuff through email alerts, and I can definitely recommend the group over there as well as your podcast. And, if y'all have something to share, if you have a story of your own, go over there and check out her podcast. You might be somebody that she needs to have on her show, or that I need to have on mine. And that's over at theblindblogger.net. And I do offer a course over there called On the Air, how to share your story, reach a wider audience, and build your brand. And that's basically taking everything I learned over the past 4 years of getting myself on shows and showing you how to do it. So one thing you mentioned earlier was that your brand or your business is like publishing to your real estate online. And I've noticed here lately there are certain gurus out there who are telling people that they don't need to have their own website. They can do everything through their Facebook or their LinkedIn page. And that if they do have a website, they can go with like a free site. And I'm one of these people who I honestly believe you need to own your brand. Even if you don't develop websites or blogs on them, I think you need to own your domain names. And I really think people should be pushing all of their social media activity and all their interviews and everything else back towards their website, towards their email list, towards things that they actually, at least for the most part, own. And I was wanting to get your opinion on that.
I 100% agree with you. I see, your website is like your home on the internet, and all the social media sites are like little branches that come off, but they all lead back to that main hub, which is your website. And just like just now, when you just asked me where people can find me, all I have to do is send people to my website, and they can find out about everything else that I have going on social media, my podcast, everything in one place. Not to mention, I own my website. It's not a free website. I don't recommend anything free I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, Facebook is free and Instagram is free and all that stuff is great. The thing is, they can shut you down at any time. People have had their Facebook account shut down. I've had my YouTube channel shut down like 4 times. And, you know, because it's free, you don't own it. So if you do something that is like against the policies and procedures of that platform, sometimes we do it without even knowing it. They can shut down your account. And then if that's the only place that you exist, you've now lost all of your content. Whereas if you keep it on a website that you own, you can have all your content there. And if you lose an account at some point, it's okay because you still have all your content in one place. Not to mention, like Max said, you're branding yourself. So when somebody wants to find you, they can find you. I mean, like I said as well, I always recommend having your website be your brand, your name, preferably, because what happens is a lot of times people brand like what they're doing right now, like the network marketing company that they're promoting, and they make that part of their brand. Well, what happens when that network marketing company goes out of business or they switch to another company is now they have to start over from scratch branding with like their branding. If you keep it as your name, and then whatever you're doing can always be on your website, but it's you, you know, and then you can have on your website umbrellas underneath your name of different things that you offer on your website, but your main brand is your name. And anyway, your website is your main piece of internet, real estate on the internet that nobody can take away from you. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. And it's just a really easy way for people to learn the whole picture about you.
Yeah, you know what you were just saying about branding. I couldn't agree with you more because I have messed up twice with branding. Once when I decided to be the Midway Marketplace, and I found out later that they're only called Midways in the U.S. and Canada, and my intention was to have an international site, so that was a bad one. And then more recently, you know, I didn't pick the name The Blind Blogger, but I'm noticing that I am starting to do things that aren't really in a good fit or alignment with The Blind Blogger as I grow and do more things. And so I did go out and file for MaxwellIvey.com, and I eventually plan to have that be the home of everything I do and have links to The Blind Blogger and to the Midway Marketplace and go from there. So I think you're right. I think even if you want to brand something as a product or a company image, you should still go ahead and brand your own name and possibly link the two or incorporate the two together, because like you say, that once you brand your name, they can never take that away from you.
Yeah, and you can grow and evolve like we talked about before over the years. And that's one thing that's never going to change is you. You know, I have a lot of products and they all have different names. And you can find them all on my website, but I don't, you know, my brand is my name. And if over time I want to remove a product or, you know, create a product that's like completely different, it doesn't matter. It still fits under the brand that is my name. The other piece about the social media is that if you're only promoting your stuff or you're only like marketing or using social media platforms as like your space on the internet, the other thing to keep in mind is that people are highly distracted when they're on social media. You do not have anybody's full attention ever on social media. If they're reading your Facebook post, they have this thing going down the side. There's all this stuff going on. Ads, all the stuff. On any social media platform, that's the case. Whereas if you can send people from social media back to your website, now they're on your website, and the only distraction that they have might be your sidebar or a pop-up that you have or whatever, but it's all your stuff. So they're not distracted by, they're not clicking away to go to other people's stuff. You've got their attention now. So that's the other benefit to always sending people back to your website.
Yeah. The other thing is with social media, if, you know, I know that Facebook and other places are now offering shopping carts and they're offering you the ability to take the payments through them, and they're becoming quite invasive. But the problem with social media from my experience is because of all the activity and distraction, you have to post much more content more often in order to get and keep the attention of people on Facebook than you do through your blog or your website.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because their feed is, you know, moving so fast, and there's so much going on, so yeah, you have to be consistently, I mean, on things like Twitter and Instagram, you've got to post multiple times a day or every couple hours in order to really make sure that people are seeing it, because once it's gone and they're not going to see it.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, social media is awesome. I'm not here to bash it, because it's powerful and it's awesome, but it's not, I don't think that it should ever be somebody's main, platform for marketing or business or branding by any means.
Yeah. However, I have noticed a lot of authors and musicians attempt to use Facebook or SoundCloud or even YouTube as their primary place as their only place where people can be found. But I have a good friend who's a poet who recently released his second book, and he's pretty much done everything on Facebook. But the only reason it worked for him is he posted every day for over 2 years. And then when his book came out, he had an audience for it. But that's an awful lot of work when you consider that most of the more popular bloggers or successful bloggers may post new content 2 to 3 times a week as opposed to every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an example.
I just want to give you a heads up about the time, because you asked me to.
Okay. Well, I really don't care about the time, but my schedule is more flexible than most of my guests' schedule, and I don't want to cause them problems with the rest of their day. So I appreciate you telling me that, because I have yet to figure out a good way to know what time it is or how time is going without distracting me. So that's another thing. The main reason why I went so long without starting my own podcast or doing interviews was, I'm like, Max, how do you do the interview and be in the moment and have a conversation with somebody, and then at the same time pay attention to whether or not you're recording, what the sound levels are like, and if you're doing it live, what people are saying in the chat box. There's just so many other things to think about. I'm like, find me a way to keep it simple and I'll do it. And so I just thought this morning, why not ask you to tell me when it's been 45 minutes, and that'll work. So thank you. I really do appreciate you coming on Zoom with me and trying this. It seems to have worked pretty well. And it's one of those things where, you talk about us continually having to evolve. I'm one of these people who was sold on Skype, was using Skype for everything like this using it on my phone and on my laptop. But Skype has become very unreliable. And I feel like if I'm going to ask somebody to give me 45 minutes to an hour of their time, I want a platform that's reliable, even if I have to pay for it. So, And I've been pleasantly surprised with Zoom. I'm even thinking of going up to their next thing, a webinar package, so that these can be going out live as opposed to pre-recorded. Nice. And well, when you're blind, the first time you try technology, a new platform, well, you never know how it's going to work. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's, can we please not mention that ever again? Somebody recently asked me to do an interview with them on a platform similar to Zoom I had never heard of before, and it was so bad they never even called me back to see if we could reschedule. So,
well, maybe you can create a movement for the blind, for some really cool tools and platforms to be released that are specifically friendly to people that are vision impaired.
Well, that is something that is starting to happen. One of the things I fought against getting an iPhone for a long time, and then I finally got it. And the more I use it, the more I find out that the same stuff that gives me headaches on the web version, I just load the app for that same thing on my iPhone, and most of the time it's much easier and less stressful. And it's just, all the people are designing for the iOS and Android platforms first. And there's, Apple has this commitment to accessibility, and you basically can't create an app for the iPhone without them reviewing it and approving it. And I think that they're doing a good job in encouraging app developers to include accessibility in their apps to start with, and then keeping it there. But yeah, I find that more and more of the people who are building online communities, like blog communities, most of those are starting to become more accessible. And one thing I really have to give thanks for is so many people are using WordPress to design their websites and blogs. And WordPress has a real commitment to accessibility, to the point if you go to the WordCamp event where you go for a week and learn all about WordPress, one of the things you have to do while you're there is take a course on accessibility. And they are constantly improving their operating system for people who use it with screen readers. And they're always trying to educate the webmasters on how to design sites better, not only for the people using them, but even for blind people who own their own websites like me. They've come out with some new tools to make it easier on the back end as well as the front end. So I'm really impressed with WordPress. I thank God every day that I no longer have to hand code my site one line of HTML code at a time. God, that was crazy. So now what have you got coming up in the near future? Have you got a course or a book or something coming out that people need to know about?
I'm revamping my Nail Your Niche course, so I'm going to re-release that. And one of the other things that I'm working on is an event for mothers. As I mentioned earlier, one of my biggest passions is really helping other mothers be able to never miss a beat in their kids' lives and to understand. I mean, I feel like as technology grows and changes, it becomes easier and easier for people to create an income online. I'm doing some e-commerce stuff now. There's like all these different ways to create income streams on the internet that I feel like a lot of people are just intimidated. They just don't know. So now that I live at the beach, I have a hotel here that I'm going to be doing an event at with another friend of mine it's on the beach, and it's gorgeous. And so we're going to do our first event for mothers, and it's going to be like a place where, it's like a girls' weekend at the beach, which is just awesome, with lots of really cool like mindset and spiritual development and stuff like that. But then a lot of actual training as well to show people how that they can, different ideas that they can do to create an income from home, because a lot of mothers are home with their kids and or aren't home with their kids but want to be and don't know how to create an income while being at home. So we want to share some different ideas and have some different speakers and stuff like that. So that's something that I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and now that I'm here, I'm really inspired to do it, because I think a beach getaway makes it even better, so that's something that our first event is going to be in the fall. We don't have the dates yet, but I'll be announcing that here pretty soon. So.
Yeah, they can find out about that over at amystarallen.com. And I need to introduce you to a friend of mine. I just recently connected. Her name is Nazreen. I can't remember her last name, but she's with a group called Project Starfish. And she is a single mother who has gone from being unemployed to working her way up in the organization to now she's running the organization. And their goal is to educate people on the skills needed to run businesses online. That's mostly what they do. And putting these people in connection with companies and organizations that need to hire people with those kinds of skills. And I think she's a really interesting lady with a great story. So I would love to get you two together and see if maybe it's just, just like you. It's one of the things I love is meeting people who have such great stories of going from, of struggling, of having those days when you wonder if you're ever going to pay the bills or be able to live at the beach. And now here you are living at the beach, so I really love stories like yours. And it seems like most people that are in my community that become my friends, most of them have good stories. I think that's because my dad was such a storyteller from an early age. I've been around people who can spin a good yarn, and I enjoy it. I think I'm even sometimes turned off by some of the people who are already there and who don't really let you see what it took for them to get there.
Yeah, sharing our stories is important.
And isn't it great to live in an age where storytelling is profitable and encouraged and promoted? And it's like how you become a star by telling your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on with me today and doing the interview. You're a brave woman. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, I heard something fall and I wasn't sure. When stuff falls in my house, it usually means something is breaking or broken. I told somebody a while back that as a blind person, you try not to get mad enough to throw things because it usually means you're down on your knees crawling around trying to find the pieces and put it back together. So, but I do appreciate you coming on with me. You are a brave woman for being the first to do video and Zoom and also to hang out with me without the help of my usual co-host Frederick Bye, who usually takes care of all the tech stuff for me. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope that the people who watch this learn a lot and are inspired, and I hope they ask themselves the question, if Amy can do it, then what is my excuse?
Yeah, me too. I always say that. I always tell people, if I can do this, anybody can do this, honestly. You know, with as a single mother and starting out with my kids so young, you know, and all the struggles that I've gone through, I really do believe that if I can do it, anybody can do it. So there are no excuses. If you really want it bad enough, you can do it.
Yeah, it is so true. If you really want it bad enough, if you show up every day, if you find solutions instead of making excuses, and if you ask for help, you know, some of those things all go into it, but anybody can. Mm-hmm. Both of us are here, and neither one of us wanted to be who we are now 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, but here we are. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you again, and I hope you have a great weekend coming up, and enjoy the beach, as where I live, it's 40-something miles to the beach, and you have to fight Houston traffic.
Well, thanks for having me, Max.
It's been my pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you again. And if there's a spot for a male perspective in your event, let me know, because I'm available.
Okay, awesome. Good to know.
All right, take care now.
You too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Well, we had another great talk today. It ran a little longer than y'all are probably used to, but when you're having a good time with a good friend, why quit early? And this is the point where I would usually have a talk with Frederick about what we learned, but I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do it myself today. First off, this is at theblindblogger.net, but the show is What's Your Excuse? And it's on the Creative Magic Network at frederickbye.com. And today, I don't know that I really learned anything new, but I think I was reminded of the important things. And I like to tell people, quite often the lessons we have to learn that are the most important ones are ones we have to learn over and over again. And I noticed that she talked about having to want to do this, being willing to do just about anything to make it a reality. That's important. She talked about learning skill sets as she went along and offering products and services as she grew her abilities online. Sometimes offering, you know, just small services on Craigslist as she would learn new things. She talked about being authentic and sharing your video or your audio or your blog posts out into the world, whether you think they're great or whether you think they're crap. You know, just get them out there. Somebody will hear your voice and it'll be unique. That's another thing I have known, but it's never a bad thing to hear those things over and over and over again, because it seems like the good lessons are hard lessons we have to relearn. She talked about owning your brand, owning your name, owning your website, and having all your social media stuff feed back to your website and build your business, your brand, and go into making you money, not making everybody else money. And she talked about sharing your mistakes and not hiding them, because people will connect with you. They like to see people learn and grow and become better people. And so I appreciate that too. So there's a lot of great lessons in the talk today. I hope that when it was over, you agreed with me and Amy that anybody can do this. I mean, think about it. She was a nursing mother with a 3-year-old by herself. Me, you know, I'm a totally blind guy who used to travel with a carnival, who, when the carnival folded, didn't have anything else to do. So I started selling rides, and that led to so much other stuff. One of my favorite songs is The River by Garth Brooks because it says so much about life. This is not intended to be a straight line path for any of us. We're expected to learn and grow and change course along the way. So I thought it was a great show. And I just want to mention a couple of things because Fred has been on me to pitch my own stuff. So go over to theblindblogger.net. You can pick up copies of Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light, A Blind Man's Inspirational Guide to Success. You can also get a copy of It's Not the Cookie, It's the Bag, an easy-to-follow guide to weight loss success. The audio version of Leading You Out of the Darkness will be up soon. I'm available to help coach you on your life goals, to get you unstuck, hold you accountable, and get you moving towards that big goal or dream you have in your life. I have this online course called On the Air, how to share your story, reach a wider audience, and build your brand, which is how I have managed to do all these radio shows and become known around the world as the blind blogger. And I also offer a service. Go over to online publicity on the website, and you can see where I will do all the work. All you have to do is show up to the interview and be your amazing, incredible self. And then, of course, you have to share on social media and other places to promote it afterwards. But I do all the work. I find the shows. I help you tell your story. I get you ready for the first interview. I do it all. So go over to online publicity or check out the success stories page, and you look at all the other people I'm already working with to get them more exposure. And I'm telling you, if you have a book, an album, a movie, a smartphone app, a game, a coaching course, any of that stuff that needs more exposure, radio, podcasts, YouTube interviews, it's the way to go because it doesn't require you to leave your house. You don't have to get dressed. You can be whoever you are. People want to meet you. They get to connect with you on a personal level. And who knows where those things can lead. I can't tell you the number of opportunities that have come my way because of being a guest or being a host or both. All right, I've enjoyed having you with me. I really appreciate you spending the time with me. I know that you have lots of other options in your day, things you could be doing with your time. So I appreciate you taking it and spending some of it with me. And until next time, thank you. God bless you. And take care out there. This is Max Ivey, the blind blogger.